Hello guys, welcome to another industrial mechanic video lesson. Today, I will be taking you through accident prevention and personal protective equipment. In the first lesson, when we were looking at occupational health and safety, we did mention accidents, which is one of the greatest issues that every worker is exposed to in a work setting. But today, we are going to be looking at this concept of accident. What leads to accident? What are the things we can do in order to actually prevent accidents? Accidents are preventable. But it is very good for me to say this. Accidents are man-made. They are caused. They are man-made. But they are preventable if certain precautions are put in place. But on this note, we want to look at three major aspects of accident prevention. One, safe workplace. We are looking at safe work practice, and we equally want to look at personal safety. I repeat it again, safe work practice, safe workplace, and then personal safety. Safe workplace. This has to do with the worker's environment, safe workplace. How safe is my environment, is my work environment? How safe is it? What is the condition of my work environment? What are the measures put in place to guarantee my safety at work? How conducive is my work environment? The structure, the equipment, the facilities, all these constitute my workplace. Woman, machine, material, the environment. Safe workplace. My employer should be able to guarantee safe workplace for me. And how would my employer achieve this? My employer will be able to achieve this by way of following and then putting some measures in place, separating me as an employee from the hazards that are present in my environment. But how will my employer separate me? An employer will put a structure in place that will prevent direct contact with hazards that are present in my work environment. And how will my employer do this? There are certain measures that will be put in place. One is the containment of the hazard. Hazards, I said, they are bound to be available at work, even though we can reduce the level to the BRS minimum. But no matter the level, we, as an employer, one should consider containing the hazard. Separating the employee, the worker, from the hazard. Removing the hazard is another option. If it is possible, removing the hazard. But if it is not possible, try to separate the worker from the hazard by way of containing the hazard. So all these put in place are gearing towards providing a safe workplace. If an employer is able to guarantee these three, removing the hazard, if that is possible, containing the hazard, or separating the worker from the hazard. So how can we achieve this? You can have safe work environment if you follow the laid-down procedure. If the employer decides to provide the right environment for the work, if the employer decides to provide the right gadgets for an employee even to actually put on to do the job. Safe work practices involve understanding the kind of work I'm trying to do and what are involved in achieving that task. The standard procedure I need to follow to achieve those tasks. All these are embedded in safe work practice. And of course, if I follow my work, following the standard operating procedure or the laid down procedure to achieving that job, definitely I'm going to end up performing that task without any issue of accident. So this is very key, and it's very important for every worker to understand that safe work practice is a measure to safeguarding accidents in a work environment. And that involves you and individuals in your work environment. How do you relate with others? Are you working in consciousness of the fact that you have co-workers around you? Your safety and their safety is very paramount to you. And the actions you are taking, one needs to be very, very careful in order not to inflict injury on the other person. The procedures of achieving that work, the step-by-step procedure, the activities that are involved in achieving those tasks and in carrying out that particular job. One must build into it element of safety at every stage of those procedures. The last stage is the personal safety. The personal safety involves that as a worker, I need to actually know the amount of hazard or risk that are involved in the kind of job I want to do. I need to have that understanding. And that is why in my job planning, I must factor risk assessment into it, because it is said that a job is not satisfactorily done unless it is done safely. So I cannot claim to have carried out an assignment or a task if that task has not been taken through standard safety procedure. So as a worker, this is a part of my personal safety requirements. How do I control the hazard in my environment? How do I work safely in order not to inflict injury on my co-workers? And how do I actually assess the level of hazard that are present in the kind of job I need to do? And having achieved all this, I should be able to have a general understanding of how I need to behave, how I need to relate in my work environment. And that will lead me to introducing the general safety procedure, that which I call Accident Prevention Regulation, APR, in the normal work setting, or in a workshop environment, or in an industry as an industrial mechanics technician. How do I actually relate with my work environment in terms of achieving that which is necessary for me to achieve general safety procedure? One, I need to know that my safety attire, safety wear, they are very important for me to put on before I carry out some tasks in my work environment, especially engineering-related works, engineering-related tasks. I need to put on my regular safety attires, and I need to wear the correct safety attire. I need to actually understand the procedure of carrying out the task that I need to carry out. I need to know the right tool to be used for a particular job. I equally need to know that it is pertinent for me to report any form of accident to supervisors in the workshop. I need to know that it's very important for me not to engage in any form of horseplay, because a workshop setting, an industrial setting, is a controlled environment. So horseplay is not allowed in any form. So I need to equally know that the right tool for me to use for a particular task is very key, because if I use a wrong tool for a particular job, that is an unsafe act coupled with unsafe condition, which will eventually lead to accident. Having this at the back of my mind, I should be able to properly keep my work environment tidy, proper housekeeping. This is key for me as a worker in an environment. And if actually I want to achieve safe work environment and preventing accidents, all these points are very vital for me as safety requirement, safety guideline for me to follow in a workshop, in an industry. But every industry, an industrial mechanic technicians will relate more with machines. What are the general safety tips, accident prevention regulations that are required of me to take note as an individual? Because if I don't take note of them, it will affect the performance of my job. Accident prevention regulation to using a machine or maintaining a machine. If you are dealing with a machine, you need to take note of certain things. One, recognize the safety points on the machines, the guards, some safety units that have been installed in the machine, recognize them. I equally need to recognize the fact that it is very important for me to know how to lock out and tag out my machine for maintenance. Lock out and tag out. Lockout is a way of actually putting a key to the power control of a machine in order for an intruder not to put on that machine while it is under maintenance. I need to properly do this to lock out. And if possible, I should tag it out. Do not operate. Do not put on. That is to prevent an unauthorized person from actually gaining access to that machine. I can lock out and I can tag out. In order to provide safe work environment for me as a technician who is trying to work on that machine, this is very important for me to follow as an individual. And I should know that every equipment that has a guard, I must not operate it without necessarily putting the guard on that equipment. And I should equally know that I don't need to go close to a revolving part of the machine with my bare hand or any part of my body because this is injurious to my body. I should equally need to know that I need to operate within the permitted level of safety requirements in that kind of environment. This is very key to me too. So these are important points and factors to be put in place or to take cognizance of when I'm trying to prevent accidents. Accidents are preventable. They are preventable, though they are caused by a human being, but they are preventable if all the guidelines are properly followed. But as part of the measures to curtail accident, we did mention the other time that we can equally make use of personal protective equipment. What are personal protective equipment? These are safety wears that can create a barrier between an individual and the hazard in his work environment. It can create a barrier. What kind of a barrier? This is trying to reduce the level of exposure to the risk. That's why we call them wears, personal protective wears or personal protective equipment. In as much as it is pertinent for us to have hazard in our work environment, we must equally take note of how we can control it, how we can bring down the level of risk that could come from all those hazards to the barest minimum. And this is possible through the wearing of our personal protective equipment. There are several levels of protection we can give to ourselves. We can protect our head protection. We can protect our eyes. We can protect our nose. We can protect our hands. We can protect our leg. And we can equally protect our chest, depending on the nature of work I'm actually carrying out. So each level of this protection requires a particular gadget to actually accomplish that protection. For my head protection, I need a helmet to actually protect my head against falling objects, against anything that could cause injury to my head. This is an helmet. So this is very possible in order to safeguard the head against falling objects, against anything that could hit the head and cause injury. Head protection is very key in work environment because a workshop setting has overhead moving objects. Overhead moving objects. And overhead moving objects, anything could accidentally fall. And this head protection, headgear, and my helmet will safeguard my head from a falling object. Equally, I have eye protection. Our eyes are very key to performing our task. And it is very important for us to take very, very seriously the protection of our eye. There are several levels of protection we could give to our eye depending on the nature of the task we are carrying out. But for mild and moderate activities, my common safety glasses is very key. I can put this on. It will protect my eye against any flying objects that could come in contact with my eye or against any splashes that is coming from another a pressurized system. This eye protection will safeguard my eye against any form of injury. Equally, I have hands protection. Hands protection. There are different levels of hand protection. These are rubber gloves. Any electrical shock, this rubber glove actually protects me from electrical shock. It insulates my hands from electrical shock. And I said we have levels of protection for the hand. If I'm carrying out some task that doesn't really require any form of shock, but I want to protect my hand against any form of a wound from sharp objects and from other cuts that may come from the kind of task I'm performing. This is another glove. These are leather gloves. This one equally gives hand protection. This gives hand protection, leather gloves. And of course, I mentioned leg protection. The boot I'm wearing is a standard safety boot. A standard safety boot, and equally there are different categories. This is another safety boot. At the tip of every safety boot, you have a metal. Metal is embedded to protect, to give maximum protection to the toes. And any falling object will not gain access to the employee's direct toes. This metal point of the boot actually give maximum protection to the user. That is for leg protection. I equally have overall for body protection. It's a complete overall for body protection. Apart from my normal wear, I can put on these in order to protect me, to protect my body from being exposed to any kind of hazard in my environment, flying metal chips, hot material, and some other things that may want to have direct access or direct contact to my body. This is overall. This is a complete overall. There are other categories that are not like this, not complete one, but a top overall like the normal lab coat. All this provides protection to the body. And on my screen, I equally have a list of some of these safety attire. I have the overall, I have the safety boots, I have the head muff, I have the nose mask, and I equally have the helmet, and I have the hand gloves. Taking note of all this and using them according to the laid-down procedure will definitely offer maximum protection to an individual or to a worker or to a technician, be it the maintenance job, the operating job, and other kind of task in the work situation. And I believe with this, every worker that is able to follow the laid-down procedure of safety will be able to actually prevent accident to the, reduce accident to the BRS minimum and guarantee safety of himself and the co-workers. What are the recaps? We have been able to actually itemize those factors to be considered when we are trying to prevent accident. We did mention safe workplace, which is very key. We mentioned safe work practices. And of course, we looked at personal safety. Personal safety. After all, personal safety of every individual is that individual's responsibility. And of course, we look at the general safety precautions that a worker could actually follow in order to guarantee safe work in a work environment. And at the same time, we look at general safety precautions, accident prevention regulation for one who is to work with a machine. So in our next class, we'll be looking at some other things that has to do with first aid. How do we respond? In as much as we believe accidents are inevitable, but we can actually reduce them to the BRS minimum. How do we actually respond to emergencies in case they occur? Thank you.